Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. This is the first session of regular classes. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk about the literary genres. So, in the previous demo class, I have given a brief introduction about the genres, literary genres. Generally, we have two genres, that is prose and verse. So in between these two, we can add drama also. Drama is a mix of prose as well as poetry. So I will try to quickly recapitulate the previous session in 5 to 10 minutes, and then I will go for the today's session. So here the verse can be classified into two ways, that is subjective and objective. So we discussed elaborately on what is subjective poetry and what is objective poetry. If it is necessary, please watch the day one recorded video. It will be very useful for you. And coming to the prose, we have two genres, two types of prose writing is there, that is fiction and non-fiction. So non-fiction is nothing but based on the true events, but whereas the fiction is completely imaginative world. So even in drama we have comedy and tragedy, the two types. And the third type is a tragic comedy, which is invented by which is mastered by Shakespeare, but it was at that time seen as a violation of the rules, but it was very famous. That is tragic comedy. We will discuss when we go to the Shakespeare age. And generally novel, there is a slight difference between the novel and drama. The novel is for reading. The main intention of the novel is for reading only, but whereas drama is only for performance on the stage. It is not for reading. But remember, there is a term which is very important, that is called as closet drama. Closet drama. It's a type of drama which is intended to be read rather than performance. Rather than performance. So we will discuss closet drama also. So this term is very important. What is closet drama? Closet drama is nothing but it's a drama which is intended for reading, not for performance on the stage. But the basic drama is only for performance. So that is the difference. Please make a note of it. And in the demo class, we discuss some definitions which are related to the poetry. Of course, all the mentioned, all the definitions mentioned here are very important. And sometimes we may get a direct question from this, because all these are collected from various books, important books. For example, poetry is a sort of inspired mathematics. Ezra Pound's dialogue, this is one of the previous questions. And even the famous dialogue, often quoted, most quoted dialogue, that is, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. This is by William Wordsworth. You should remember this famous quotation. And poetry is the rhythmic creation of beauty. This is one of the famous dialogues, one of the famous quotes, that is rhythmic creation. Rhythmic creation is quoted by Edgar Allan Poe. So we should remember. And poetry is a speaking picture. Speaking picture. This is by Philip Sidney, and we will discuss this elaborately in criticism chapter, that is an apology for poetry or defense of poetry. There are two titles for this book. One is the defense of poetry. The second title is apology for poetry. Here apology is nothing but not saying sorry here. Apology is in support of the poetry. Argument, the other term for apology here is argument for poetry. So these are very important quotations. Please make a note of this. And coleridge, this is one of the famous definition. Prose is words in their best order. but poetry is the best words in their best order. So he said that the best words are chosen and put them in the best order. This is the Coleridge dialogue in table talk. And poetry is the record of best and happiest moments. This is by Shelley in Defense of Poesy. Defense of Poetry. There are two titles. Don't get confused. I will just try to clarify. And poetry is simply the most delightful and perfect form of utterance of human words. That is by Matthew Arnold. And he also said, yesterday, sir has elaborated into some Matthew Arnold. Here, this is one of the basic quotations. That is, poetry is nothing but it's a criticism of life. So Matthew Arnold is a critic, a famous critic. He said that poetry is nothing but a criticism of life. Poetry is nothing but a criticism of life. So please try to read all these definitions. So all these are very important, and you may get any of these in the examination. We already discussed the subjective and objective poetry. Subjective is nothing but the poet's feelings, thoughts, personal, biographical elements are seen in the poem. Whereas in objective poetry, those personal elements are eliminated. So it is not possible to entirely eliminate, but the the writing, for example, lyric and elegy. These are elegy is nothing but a song of mourning. We discussed in the previous class. Mourning, not morning, mourning. Morning. Technically, it is. Yeah. So we discussed lyric poem as well as ode. So lyric is nothing but a short poem, simply a short poem which is accompanied by the music of lyre, Lyre, lyre. Okay, so lyre is nothing but a musical instrument, so that's why it is called as lyric. So the term, the Greek term is lyrikos, and please remember this is a short poem, so it deals with only one emotion, one single emotion only. So the poet cannot put all his thoughts, all his feelings in one single poem. So that's why Edgar Allan Poe, critic, he's a simple term. He says that he's an American writer. He said that a long lyric is not possible. Long lyric poem is not possible because long lyric poem, in the sense, to sustain the same emotion to the end to some extent, to completely for 1,000 lines or 2,000 lines or 500 lines is not possible. So that's why remember the term lyric is a short poem. And whereas the ode is nothing but a long lyric poem. Ode is a long lyric poem. It is almost opposite to the lyric. So here, the father of ode is known as Pindar. Pindar. Pindar is a Greek poet. And there is a slight difference between two types of odes, that is Pindaric ode and Horatian ode. We discussed in the previous class, but I'm just quickly going through it. Pindaric ode is nothing but a choric ode. It is sung by a group of singers. A group of singers. So generally, this choric song is sung on public events, on celebrations. Especially the origin of this Pindaric ode is in the Olympic Games, the Greek Olympic Games. Please remember this. So here, a group of singers will come to the stage and they will perform something along with the singing. So the performance or the movement of the singers can be categorized into three types. So there was a previous question in the examination on this movement. What is stroke? What is anti-stroke? What is epode? So here stroke is nothing but the chorus will move from right to the left. Right to the left is called stroke. Anti-stroke is reverse, left to the right. And in the final stanza, that is called as epode, the chorus will not move and they will simply stand on the stage without any movement. This type of ode is called Pindaric ode. And in Horatian ode, this is by the Latin poet Horace, and this is a simple type of poem, and there are no such restrictions like stage directions or the stroke, anti-stroke, and epode. This is a personal form of ode, whereas this is Pindaric is a is written for a cause, is written for a celebration, is written for to celebrate a particular event. But whereas this is on the personal interest of the personal writers, personal feelings. So that is, there is a slight difference between the Pindaric ode and the Horatian ode. And there is another ode called Irregular ode. This is by Abraham Cowley. You have to remember this writer name. Abraham Cowley is very famous. We will come in the metaphysical poets. So we will discuss him at the metaphysical poets. The life of Johnson. Johnson, the lives of the poets is a very famous work. The lives of the poets. So he wrote 52 biographies. In that, the first biography is about Abraham Cowley. So kindly make a note of it, and we will have this in the material. Don't worry. Abraham Cowley is the first writer to mention in the lives of poets by Johnson. So we'll discuss him, and he is the one who created a mix of two types of odes. So that is more than enough to remember. And we also discussed the sonnet. Sonnet is nothing but a 14-line poem, that too 14-line iambic pentameter lines. So pentameter means there will be 5 meters in each line. Penta means 5. Iamb means, iamb is a type of meter. Here we have 2 syllables in each word, or a word with 2 syllables, whereas the first syllable is not stressed and the second syllable is stressed. So we'll discuss later in the class now. So please make a note of it. Sonnet is nothing but a 14-line poem which is Italian origin. The meaning of actual meaning of this word is a small sound. You have to remember this. And this is invented by Petrarch. So that's why it is called as Petrarchian sonnet or Italian sonnet. And we discussed elaborately in the previous class. Once please go through it. The original form have 14 lines, but into 2 stanzas. The first stanza is of octave, that is 8 lines, and the second stanza will be of 6 lines, sestet. Please, these terms may be new to you or may be familiar to you, but please remember, please try to understand the terms. And this is the structure, 14-line structure. And we also discussed the rhyming scheme, ABBA, ABBA. These are the 8 rhymes. And finally, CDE, CDE, or CDC, CDC. This is called as the meter, rhyming scheme of Petrarchian sonnet. So sometimes we may have question in the examination. So ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE is the rhyming scheme of Petrarchian sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet, some other sonnets. They may give X, Y, Z. So please don't make any mistake here. So here I have told in the previous class, octave is very important. It raises an argument. It raises a problem. Whereas the sestet gives the solution. The sestet gives the solution. Here there is a important term, that is casuera. We will discuss. Casuera is nothing but cutting. Casuera. Please make a note of this. Casuera means cutting. So this 8 lines and 6 lines will be have some what do you call a cut between these 2 stanzas. That is called casuera. Casuera means a cutting. So we'll discuss it later in the class. So here the 9th line is very important, and please make a note of this word, volta, VOLTA. Volta is nothing but the 9th line of the sonnet is called, simple question, the 9th line of the sonnet is called volta. So volta is nothing but this is the turn. This is turn in the thought. Whereas I discussed in the previous class, the first 8 lines raises a problem. The ninth line is a change in the thought, and the remaining lines will gives the solution of the problem. So that's why that is the beauty of the sonnet. And the English writers like Watt and Surrey, generally these two poets are collaborated. I mean, we collaborate these two as twin brothers, or we can what you call in Telugu janta kavulu. So these two are often collocated because Watt and Surrey, they worked together. I mean, they worked on the same type of poems. They have they are the main reason for the Renaissance in English poetry. Sir Thomas Watt is the first person to introduce sonnet into the English, but with slight changes. The major change he made is the dividing the sestet into a quatrain and a couplet. That is, quatrain means 4, couplet means 2. 4 plus 2 lines. Then the Surrey, he is also known as Thomas Howard, Earl of Surrey. He divided the octane into 2 quatrains. Simple thing. 4 plus 4 plus 2. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2. And he has added the rhyming meter in a different manner. Even Spencer did the experiment with a sonnet, and his sonnet is different, and he has same 3 quatrains plus 1 rhyming couplet, but the rhyming scheme is very important. Spency, you just remember Spency, e, one term, last 2 terms, e is for Spencer, Spency. You just make a short what do you call this, a mnemonic, Spency, like CC, EE. Whereas Shake double G, Shakespeare double G, GG will come at the end. That is called Shakespeare sonnet. Whereas in Spencer sonnet we get EE. In examination it will be going to be definitely a question. So I mentioned the CDC in the Petrarch sonnet. The rhyming schemes may be asked in the examination. So here the Spencer's rhyming scheme is AB. You need not remember all these things. Just if you remember E, it's enough. Spency, one short word. You can write it with a pencil there in the notes. And the Shakespeare is the one who made the sonnet into a perfect form. That is, he is the master. He wrote 154 sonnets. That should be in your mind always. So 154 sonnets by Shakespeare. So here the WH, Mr. So we don't know who is this WH. Still the research is going on to know about this, who is WH. So these 126 sonnets are addressed to Mr. WH. These are called as young lady sonnets. Whereas the remaining sonnets from 127 to 154 are called dark lady sonnets. Dark lady sonnets. So there is a question in the previous examination. The dark lady sonnets are the young lady sonnets. Please make a note of this. And these are the famous sonnets. So we discussed in the previous class. Just read them. And I will go to the rhyming scheme also. So I explained this in the previous class. But anyhow, I'm just going to the recapitulation once again. So day and May at the end of the first line and third line are similar. Day and May. So we assign a letter to the rhyme. That is, the first line is A and the third line is A. So we don't find anywhere A in the entire poem. Just you check. That means the word which is rhyming with the day or May, we don't find in the entire poem. So that's why the rhyming is A here. But coming to the second and fourth line, temperate, date, rate and date are rhymed like B and B. So these two are similar words, similar rhyming words. So this is simple thing. AB is the rhyming of this quatrain. Again CD here. Next EF, EF, and finally GG. So these last two are similar. C, D. So that's why you have to learn some basics also in examination. They may not be asked, so what is A and what is B, but sometimes we have to analyze a poem. Sometimes there may be a stanza will be given, and they may ask you a question to identify the rhyming scheme also, or they may ask you to identify the type of poem. So in that case, this rhyming will help you a lot. And these are the important sonnet series, and there will be definitely a question from this type of poems. What we are discussing, lyric, ode, ballad, sonnet, all these are very important. Here, Astrophel and Stella is a very famous sonnet series. So in the previous examination, I told in the previous class also, there are 108 sonnets and 11 songs in this collection. So the options may vary in the examination to confuse you, but remember there are 108 sonnets. 108 is a holy number for Hindus. Generally, when we go to temple, we make 108 pradakshinas. Yes. So this is written by Philip Sidney. So please make a note of this. Here, Sydney is called as Astrophel. The other nickname for Sydney is also very important, because we have another elegy also on Astrophel. Astrophel is a elegy, whereas Astrophel and Stella is a sonnet series. So we have, yes, here I have gave in the previous class. Yeah, Astrophel. It is written by Spencer. So simply, please try to remember this important word. It's often confusing one. Astrophil is nothing but Sydney. Astrophil is none other than Sydney, because he is a star lover. Star means, astro means star, phil means love. We call them, generally we call bibliophile. So, so Phil means lover, love. So here Astrophil means Sydney, and in memory of Sydney, Spencer wrote an elegy, the Song of Morning, that is called Astrophil. But now we are discussing Astrophil and Stella. Here Astrophil is a Sydney, that is oyster lover, star lover, whereas Stella is his love, that is Penelope. So please remember this. Who is Stella in the poem? There may be a simple question. Who is Stella in Astrophil and Stella? That is called Penelope. So please make a note of it. And Amoretti. Amoretti is by Spencer. This is also a sonnet series. There are 88 sonnets for his love, Elizabeth Boyley. So this is also a very important series. And Dahlia by Samuel Daniel. These two are similar rhyming words. Dahlia, Daniel. Sometimes we need to just connect the words. Otherwise, we may get forget in the examination. Dahlia, Daniel. There are 50 sonnets. Ideas Mirror, that is by Drayton, 44 sonnets. And later version, Idea has 73 sonnets. And next important one is Celica. Celica is the 100 nights or 9 sonnets. And the sonnets by Shakespeare, we discussed it already, 154. Phamphilia to Amphilanthus. This is also one of the famous, important sonnet series by Lady Mary Roth. Lady Mary Roth. There are 83 sonnets. Very important. And in the previous class, Sar has discussed this one. What is the Portuguese? Did you remember anything? Who is Portuguese? Please type your answer in the chat box. I will just check. Who is Portuguese?
Elizabeth Barrett Browning, sir.
Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Thank you, sir. Portuguese is nothing but the nickname. The nickname for Barrett Browning given by Robert Browning. So sonnets from Portuguese is nothing but sonnets from Barrett Browning to Robert Browning. So House of Life is also very important sonnet series by Dante Gabriel Rossetti. And we discussed who is Dante Gabriel Rossetti. Did you remember anything about him? Please answer my question. Who is DG Rossetti?
Free Raphaelite brother.
Right poet, sir.
Yes, Free Raphaelite Brotherhood, sir, and it's a very important question. So it's also called as seven group of seven people. Group of seven. The other name for it is group of seven. Please memorize this one. Very important. Dante Gabriel Rossetti. That is pre-Raphaelite movement and modern love. It's a sonnet series. It is a compilation of 50 sonnets, 16 line sonnets. But the difference is these are not 14 line sonnets, 16 line sonnets by George Meredith. So in this way, you have to understand the simplest terms also. This will be very useful throughout the classes because we need not to discuss every each and every item again and again. So we have to remember. And elegy is a song of mourning, song of uh, sorrow, song for the dead, song for the last one. So that is the mood of the song is very sad. Generally, we discussed that there are three stages in the song, three stages in the poem. One is the first stage is about the grief of the sorrow for the dead. So the poet initially laments or cries for the dead. Then he praises the dead. We obviously praise the dead one because we remember the only good things done by anyone. So at the time of death. And finally, we try to accept the loss. So we generally say that um, death is inevitable. So that's why we need to accept it. And these are the three important stages in a elegy, and you will find it in everywhere in every elegy. So this is very very important, and you have to remember this line. Elegy is written in the format of alternative hexameter and pentameter lines. So you may have some idea about what is pentameter and hexameter. As I have mentioned in the sonnet, pentameter means 5 meters of eons generally. So that is 10 syllable line. Penta means 5 meters. So we'll discuss the meters later. Hexameter means 6 meters. So in simple terms, we can say alternative lines. One line will be longer and one line will be shorter. One line will be longer and one line will be shorter. Hexameter, pentameter, hexameter and pentameter. So this is the compilation style of elegy. And we also discussed the personal elegy and the pastoral elegy. I'm trying to cover everything because it's the first class and some have joined newly. So personal elegy is nothing but lament or cry or mourning for the deceased, for the dead person. Here, the personal elegy is nothing but one person will be crying for the dead. The simple difference. Only one person will be crying for the deceased. And here, whereas in pastoral elegy, a group of poets, a group of shepherds, we call it as shepherds. Pastor is nothing but shepherd. In Christianity, the pastor, the word for pastor, the actual meaning is shepherd. Here, the pastoral elegy is nothing but a group of poets will be crying for the deceased. There will be more than one person who is crying for the dead here. Generally, in other terms, in pastoral elegy, the deceased is generally a poet, generally a writer. So that is the main difference. And in English literature, the most important elegy is In Memoriam. It is written by Tennyson. Sir has discussed everything in the previous class. For his friend A.H.H. Arthur Henry Hallam. So W.H. Auden, In Memory of Eads. So Auden is writing this elegy in memory of Eads. And Fulk Gravelly, his important sonnet, The Phoenix Nest. So there may be a simple question in the examination, the phoenix nest. is written by Pulk Greville, or it is on the death of Philip Sidney. Because these are very important poems. That's why you may have a question on these important poems. So Philip Sidney's death is mentioned in the phoenix nest. And the next one is Threnody augustalis. Threnody is also a similar term. Threnody is nothing but elegy. The term Threnody, we'll discuss it later. So that is also a synonym for elegy. So Threnody augustalis, that is on the death of Charles II by Dryden, very famous elegy. And we discussed this Rugby Chapel. Who is the person mentioned in the Rugby Chapel? Please answer the question.
Matthew Arnold.
Okay. Any other answers? Who is the
Thomas,
deceased person?
Thomas Arnold, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thomas Arnold is the right answer, sir. Matthew Arnold is a writer. This is written on the death of his father. Who is the father of Matthew Arnold? He is a Thomas Arnold. He is also the principal of a rugby school. Please make a note of it. He's a principal of a rugby school, and that's why Rugby Chapel is a name for this elegy. And we also discussed that in the previous class. This Thomas Arnold is also mentioned in a book. Can anyone remember the name? Please try. There is nothing wrong or right. Trying is important. A famous book Sir has mentioned in the previous class. There are 4 important Victorians in that book. What is the name of the book and what is the name of the author? Sometimes we need to make connections. So if you connect in this way, it will be in your memory forever. Any answer from your side? I have mentioned 4 personalities of great personalities. Yes. Aditi Sarkar, thank you. Lytton Strachey. Thank you for your answer. Lytton Strachey is the writer. The name of the book is Eminent Victorians. Eminent Victorians is a very, very important work in the Victorian age. This is the biography of 4 authors, 4 important writers, 4 important Victorians, not authors. So one of them is a female, one of them is a lady. The other 3 are gents. So can you name the lady?
Florence Nightingale.
Yes, that is the previous question once they asked in the net examination. So now we are going for set examination. We may have the same question here. Even the Thomas Arnold is also mentioned in that Eminent Victorians. Please make a note of this. And next one is Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray, his famous writing, famous poem is Elegy written in a country churchyard. This is on the death of Richard West. Richard West is one of his friends. So this is very, very important, Thomas Gray's book. So in Elegy, we need to understand the name of the writer, the name of the work, and who is the deceased, who is the dead person mentioned in that particular elegy. So this is what more than enough. So sometimes we may have a question like match the followings: the phoenix nest, in memoriam, Threnody augustalis, and in the other side we may have the names of the deceased or the names of the writers. So not more than that. Simple question in examination, but it will make a big confusion for us. Yeah. And in pastoral elegy, we discussed it is about the pastors. That means a mourning of a group of shepherds. So here the important works are on the death of Sydney. We have Astrophel, that is written by Spencer, and we get confusion in this one, but I think my explanation is more than enough for you. Astrophel is nothing but Sydney. Please make a note of this. Lycidas, one of the famous elegies. It is written by John Milton on the death of Edward King. P.B. Shelley's Adonais. This is also very, very important in the Romanticism, age of Romanticism, that is on the death of John Keats. And Arnold's Thyrsis. So in the previous, we discussed about Arnold's Rugby Chapel, and this is Arnold's Thyrsis on the death of Hugh Clow. And Walter Whitman wrote 4 poems, 4 elegies. So these are 4 very important elegies. And Whitman is the admirer of Abraham Lincoln. He wrote 4 elegies on the death of Abraham Lincoln. So I have included the name of all the 4 elegies. One is O Captain, My Captain. O Captain, My Captain. So this is very important one. So please memorize this. And opera. So we have come to the next topic, that is opera. Opera is nothing but a musical drama. Opera is a musical drama. It's a theatrical entertainment. Musical drama is nothing but called as in the form of poem, in the form of song, in the form of music. So this is just a term. Please remember this. And parody. Parody. We know all this. Parody means nothing but imitation. Parody is nothing but imitation of another person's work. It may be the style of the author. It may be the subject of the author. It may be the character of the other author. So parody is nothing but an imitation. It's a form of imitation. And we also discussed pastoral. There is a slight difference between pastoral and pastoral elegy. Remember, pastoral is always filled with rural life, simple life. Pastoral is nothing but rural life. So even I mentioned the same in here. Pastoral is filled with rural life. Pastoral. But whereas pastoral elegy is a special type. It's about mourning. It's about crying. But whereas pastoral is nothing but the beauty, the rural beauty, the beauty of the country, the beauty of the villages. So it's borrowed from the Greek, and generally it presents rural life, rustic life, that is idealized manner. So for example, we have Shepherd's Calendar, very important one. As You Like It is a drama by Shakespeare. So Milton's Lycidas is also a pastoral elegy. Just now we discussed. Even the Thyrsis. Yes. Monody is nothing but is also a elegy, but any of the above can be treated as monodies, because only the Tennyson is crying for Arthur Henry Hallam. So in this case we can call this as a monody also. Monody means single person's sadness. So one person's death, one person may be crying for the deceased. Other term we discussed threnody. Threnody is also a wailing ode. Wailing is nothing but crying. So here mourning, the same term. The other terms dirgi, threnody, monody, eclogue, all these are synonyms for elegy. So don't get confused here. And next important term is idyll. Idyll is a Greek term. The meaning of the idyll is a little picture. So this was once a net question. Greek term idyll is nothing but a little picture. It's a short poem, short verse poem depicting the romantic or pastoral rural life, especially the Greek, and originated by Theocritus in idylls and epigram. This is one of the famous example for idyll. Theocritus, idylls and epigrams. Even the Tennyson's Idylls of the King, very very famous work. Idylls of the King is also known as idyll. Idyll is nothing but a little picture, a short poem. And now we have come to the important, very important writing, that is called epic. So in epic, the conventions are very important. Epic conventions. So in other way we can call them as attributes. Like if you find these qualities in a work, that is called as an epic. The simple thing. If you find these qualities in a work, that can be treated as an epic. Epic is nothing but a heroic poem, a great poem. The subject of the poem may be broad. See, I will just try to give the important conventions about the epic. These are very, very important. Please pay your attention here. Here, it's a long narrative poem. It may be celebrating achievements of a national hero, or a great hero, or maybe a great warrior, or maybe about the god. So in Milton's Paradise Lost, the best example for epic is Milton's Paradise Lost. So can you answer my question? How many books? I mean, how many parts are there in Milton's Paradise Lost? So generally, epic poem has a convention. So that should be in this many parts. The number is very important. If that many number of books are there only, it is treated as an epic. Books
12,
means
sir.
yeah,
12, 12.
12. Yes, sir. Right. Right
Actually,
answer, sir.
first written in 10, then in revision, he
Yes,
wrote 12.
exactly, sir. Why do you think he revised into 12? That is because it should be treated as an epic. It should have 12 books. The simple concept. Thank you, Sinva sir. An epic should have 12 books. So that is one of the conventions, the attributes. Here, I will go to one by one. The one and foremost important preposition, the convention is the preposition, the statement in the initial lines of the poem. Initial lines of the poem. Preposition means some statement. So there is a famous line in the Milton's Paradise Lost. Can anyone say the first line? Justifying the ways of God to the men. Justifying the ways of the God to the men. So is proposition. The proposition means initial statement. And a poem, that poem is entirely written in this for this purpose, to justify the ways of the God to the men. So that is called the preposition of the theme of that particular epic. And there is also an invocation. What is invocation? Generally in any culture, when we start any new program, or when we construct any house, when we do any good work, even it's a marriage or any other thing, we generally perform a puja, celebration. And before the celebration, we do some puja, performance. So that is here, an epic should have a prayer to the muse. Muse is nothing but the god here, invisible power. So in epic, we should have a preposition. In epic, we should have an invocation. These two are very important. And next thing is the setting of the poem is worldwide. The setting means, setting అనే term గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. Setting is nothing but the place of action, that is worldwide. That is not limited to one city, not limited to one country, not limited to one village, but it's a worldwide theme, worldwide setting. And even the bigger, sometimes we call it as a cosmic figure. And I forgot to mention that Aristotle preferred tragedy actually. So according to Aristotle, we will go to the dramas discussion. So he stated that tragedy is the biggest or important or foremost type of genre. But he also stated that epic is only the second, that is next to the tragedy. Epic, he valued the epic as the second rank to the tragedy. Now we move into the another attributes of the drama. There are some similes are used. Simile is a figures of speech. We will discuss the term when we go to the figures of speech. Simile is nothing but a figure of speech. It's a comparison. Simile is nothing but a comparison. Here there will be a number of comparisons in the poem. Sometimes in epic, the hero is compared to a big personality. Sometimes the armor, like the sword, like his any vehicle or something, is compared to a big mountain or some powerful issues. So he will use a big comparison. That's why these comparisons are called as Homeric simile, not ordinary simile. Homeric simile. Homer is a writer. So Homeric simile. That means a big comparisons are made in the epic because the hero is very big. So comparison also obviously big. And the adjectives, that is epithet. Epithet is nothing but adjective. The meaning of this word epithet is adjective. So even the comparisons, the descriptions also very big. So that is one important thing. And generally the narrative begins with a question that is called epic question. Epic question. And the very, very important term is in medias res. In medias res. Can anyone answer what is in medias res?
In the middle of drum.
In whether the events.
Yes, in the middle of the event. Sometimes when we watch movies, some movies are scripted in a different way, and they start at a different important points. Instead, they go for linear events, like then the first event is this, the next event is this, the next event. They don't go in a linear manner. They will try to skip some important information and they will begin the story at a particular or a important or a crucial point of the story. For example, you might have watched the Bahubali. It's an epic movie. We call it as an epic. Why do we call it as epic? The theme is very big. The heroic portrayal is very big. So in Bahubali, there is in medias res. Can anyone answer my question now? What is the in medias res in the Bahubali? The scene one of the movie started. Yeah, please mute. Yeah, in the movie, we find an important scene. Actually, that happened much later in the story, but the director or the screenplay writer has started the movie from that point. That is, the Ramakrishna is holding a baby in the river. You might have seen that movie. Obviously, we all have seen. So that crucial point has given the introduction. So this way of starting a story is called in medias res. It's a term by Aristotle. In medias res. So what do they next? They give some flashbacks to describe the story, the remaining events. So that's why the story, it's not in the linear way of line. In the events are not portrayed in a serial manner. So that is what we have to understand. Even in Paradise Lost, what is the opening scene? Can anyone answer my question? What is the opening scene of the Paradise Lost?
Fall of Saturn.
Yes. There was a big war between the gods and the devils. The Saturn was fell into the dark lake, and from there the story has begun. So we don't know what happened before that, but the Saturn is now defeated. Now he is in the dark lake. But the crucial point of the story has begun from the fall of Saturn. So that is very important to note in the in medias res. What is the in medias res in Hamlet? Anyone? What is the first scene? Just remember, what is the first scene in Hamlet? If you have idea, it's okay. Otherwise, we'll
The
go ahead.
death of King Hamlet, I think.
No, it's a linear event. But what is the first scene in Hamlet? Of course, you are very near, but any answer, any clue? The appearance of the ghost. Appearance of the ghost is the first scene. See, try to remember that is in medias res. So this is uh, a convention in epic, and obviously the theme is very big. Obviously, the hero is very big. So obviously, the author uses the supernatural powers, gods, wars, events, battles, something, something. And Srinivas sir has answered this question already. Epic is generally divided into 12 books. Generally, this is a convention. And Iliad and Odyssey are 24 books. Make a note of this. In Greek works, Iliad and Odyssey are 24 books each. Even the Paradise Lost is 12 books. Initially, it was published with only 10 books, but later revised into 12 books. Even the Fairy Queen, the Spenser's Fairy Queen, very important work, which is planned to write 12 books, but the author has completed only 6 books. Only 6 books were completed. So it can be called as an half epic only. And even Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these are known as the epics. So Spenser's Fairy Queen, Byron's Don John, Keats' Hyperion, Wordsworth Prelude. So yesterday Sar has mentioned this one, Prelude. So very important. And even the Iliad's Wasteland, the Wasteland. So you just remember the Wasteland. It's published in the year. Anyone? The Wasteland is published in the year. Very important question to the examination point of view. The Wasteland is published in the year. Almost it has changed the era. So the stepping into the modernism. T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland is published in the year. Yes, Aditi Sarkar, thank you. 1922. And there are 2 more books published in the same year, in 1922. Anyone? Please. It's okay, otherwise we'll move ahead, no problem. I'm just trying to connect the events. Okay, James Joyce's Ulysses. Yes, James Joyce's Ulysses. Answer is given, the Sarkar. And any other options? One more is there. I'm waiting for your answer.
I think Jibisha Joan of Arc. Sir.
No. Any other option? Please. These 3 should be remembered. No answer? James Joyce's Ulysses? Let me check, please. Ravindra sir? Are you in the meeting? Yeah, please. I'm sorry for taking much time about this question. James Joyce's Ulysses and Jacob's Room. Yes, so I already given the answer. Jacob's Room. So these 3 are very important works published in the 1922. So now let us move to the next point, that is mock epic. What is mock epic? Simple thing. This is a parody, but it's not a parody imitation. It's a satire. It's a satire. Mocking is nothing but satiring. So Pope's Rape of the Lock is the best example. Swift's Battle of Books is very important. And even Iliad's Battle of Frogs and Mice is also a mock epic. So just remember the names, it's enough. And we have come to the next important question, that is Ballad. Ballad is nothing but a dancing song. Etymologically, the meaning is dancing song, but actually this is a story. a story in the verse, a story in the form of a poem. In ballad, generally a story is transmitted orally, that is through a song. Ballad is a song, it's a dancing song, it is about a story. Generally, the rural public, especially the labor working in farms, they will sing some songs while they are doing the agriculture works or all. These are called as ballads. We can call it as simple. So the very first and important ballad is Chevy Chase Ballad. You have to remember this. It's about a border fight, the oldest one. The Wife of Usherswell, very, very famous one. This is about a woman grieves bitterly for the loss of her children to the sea, to the winds. So this is very important. Wife of Usherswell. And Robin Hood ballads, might have gone through this word. Robin Hood ballads are very famous in 15th century, and even the Coleridge's 1798 work, 1798, that is the beginning of the Romanticism, the Rime of Ancient Mariner. The Rime of Ancient Mariner, it's a ballad. It's a ballad. There is a famous quote in this work. Anyone can answer? There is a famous quotation in this work. The Rime of Ancient
Water,
Mariner.
water, water,
Yes,
water
yes.
everywhere, but not a drop to drink.
Yes, exactly, sir. Water, water everywhere, nor a drop to drink. So, shipwrecked person. So, almost he is in the middle of the ocean. By killing an albatross, he commits a mistake. He commits a harm to the nature. So, nature punishes him for 7 days. He is sailing on the ocean. All the crew of the ship has dead. He is the only person on the ship. So he says that water, water everywhere, but nor a drop to drink. So the pathetic situation of the uh, mariner, that is 1798. This is published in 1798. So the famous book, famous work. Okay. Next, Anonymous Christabel is also says Sir Patrick Spence, Nut Brown Maid, The Lay of the Last Minstrel. All these are ballads. Just try to remember these words. Is enough, more than enough. And now, La Belle Dame Sans Mercy is a very famous one. There is a story behind this ballad. This is actually written to his love, and he portrays that his love as merciless. Merciless. La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. Merciless lady. So the kids poem. And Barrack Room Ballads is by Kipling. This is very important work. And Broadside Ballad, this is nothing but is a printing terminology. Actually, it's not necessary, but I have included it. A ballad which is printed on one side of a sheet, single page, is called as broadside ballads. We'll find in pamphlets, when we come to the pamphlets literature, we'll find broadside, that means a leaf, sheet. Will go to the another important terms of printing. So we just note it down. Broadside ballad is nothing but a ballad which is printed on one side of a paper. One side of a sheet is called broadside ballad. Mock ballad. Mocking is satiring, comic. So this is very important. And parody and satire. Satire is nothing but it can be in a prose, it can be in a poem, and it is simply, satire is nothing but criticizing. It's an attack on the other person, attack on the social evil, attack on any folly, any mistake. So generally, vices, follies. So vice and virtue, we call it as vices and virtue. Virtue is a good quality, vice is a bad quality. Vices and virtues. So we all know that Swift's very famous work, Gulliver Travels, very famous for Lilliput's. So this is a satire on the England and France. So at that time, and Cervantes, Don Quixote, we call it as Quixote. So this is very famous work, and Swift, Addison, Johnson's essays are very famous. Even G.B. Shaw's plays are can be called as satirical dramas. And when it comes to poem, Absalom and Achitophel, Mac Flecknoy. Mac Flecknoy is a direct satire on a poet. Absalom and Achitophel is a direct satire on the then king. So here the Pope's Dunciad, Rape of the Lock, Butler's Hudibras, Byron's Don John. Yesterday, Sir has given The Vision of Judgment, and there is another work called A Vision of Judgment. So yesterday, Sir has given much information about this. So these are all called satires, very important. And Epithalamion. This was once asked in examination with a new term actually. So the actual term for Epithalamion is marriage song, but this term is a new term, nuptial song. They simply asked what is nuptial song. If you don't know the meaning of this word, we cannot answer this question. Even we know the answer, but we cannot answer because due to a new vocabulary. Nuptial song is nothing but a marriage song, a celebration of a marriage. So Edmund Spenser's Epithalamion is very famous. It is written to his bride, Elizabeth Boyley. And can anyone answer the question? So I'm just going back to the sonnet series. What is the Spenser's sonnet series written for Elizabeth Boyley? And how many sonnets are there in that work? We just discussed a few minutes ago. Spenser's marriage song. This is about marriage song. Epithalamion is his marriage song, very famous. Almost in English literature, we nowhere find any epithalamions except one or two. And this is very, very, very most important one. Spenser's Epithalamion is written for his bride, Elizabeth Boyley. And I'm asking the question about Spenser's sonnet series for the Elizabeth Boyley before the marriage. He wrote some sonnets. Yes, Aditi Sarkar, thank you. Amaroti, 88 sonnets. Thank you. In this way, we need to make some connections. Yes, now we have come to the important topic, and I will stop the session after introducing one small important term. This is term related to actually English, not English literature. It's an English grammar, but this is very important. Syllable. What is syllable? If we don't know this, we cannot go ahead. Syllable is nothing but it may be a sound, phonic sound, or a group of sounds uttered together. It may be one syllable, one phonic sound or a group of sounds which are uttered in a single puff. That means without any breaking. So I will explain. In English, we have monosyllabic words, disyllabic words, that means 2 syllables, 3 syllables, trisyllabic word, polysyllable, many syllables. So how to identify the syllables? So it is generally with a number of vowels in a word. The number of vowels in a word is generally the number of syllables of that word, generally. But sometimes it's different. So don't go with my words as it is. I will explain. For example, the first word, act, A-C-T. How many vowels are there? Only one vowel, A. So it has only one vowel, and we can pronounce the word in one single puff without taking any break. Act directly. So that is called monosyllabic, cat. But the word book, B-O-O-K, has 2 syllables, sorry, 2 vowels, wo and wo. But these double wo can be treated as only one when 2 vowel sounds comes together, we treat them as only one. So that is the other amendment for the rule. So B-O-O-K, book. It's also a monosyllabic word here. So women. So there are two syllables. One is O, another one is E. So we men. We men. Disyllabic. For example, beside. Beside. The last E is not pronounced. Please understand. So here two sounds are there, two vowels are there. E is one vowel, I is one vowel, and there is one more vowel at the end. But we don't take into consideration. We just take these two. So that's why beside. This is another amendment to the rule. So I think you might have known about all these vowels and syllabics. And generally we count the number of vowels, that is the number of syllables of the word. If there is any letter with Y and makes the sound of vowel, we consider the Y as a vowel only. For example, try, here Y is treated as a vowel. Cry, one vowel. So Y is a vowel. So when there are when there is a silent vowel at the end, just like beside, we don't count that. So that's why we subtract one vowel sound from the number of syllables. And if there are diphthongs, that is two vowels comes together, we will just treat them as only one vowel. So in that way, you just please remember these are the rules for identifying the syllables. So why we are learning the syllables is very important. I will come to the point. Stress. English is a stress-timed language. So the stress is maintained at equal intervals in a line. So the time, stress, time. The stress comes at equal times. So we take equal amount of time to stress equal number of syllables, irrespective of unstressed syllables between them. We count only stressed syllables generally. That is called English is a stress-timed language. So if we take a word happily, happily, the first syllable is stressed. The last one is first syllable, hap. So emphasis is on the first syllable. So that's why hap. Happy. P. Ly is not stressed. So that is stressed and unstressed. Even the rhyme. So this corresponding to the sounds of the words is rhyming. So we already discussed the rhyming pattern of a poem by Shakespeare, sonnet by Shakespeare. Here, birth, earth are rhyming words. We all know this. The repetition of the same sounds, not the words important. The sounds are important. So the repetition of same sounds is called the rhyming one. Here, there are several types of rhymes. I will just quickly go through it. We all know that. End rhyme. If the rhyming is generally at the end, how we discussed in the previous one is called as end rhyme. If the rhyming is in the middle of the word, middle of the line, that is called internal rhyme or middle rhyme. So just observe the stanza here on the stage. In the first line, rose goes, rose knows, the rose knows, goes and close. All these are similar, but they are internal rhymes. Lo in 1, 2, and 5 lines. Toes, schmoes, toes and schmoes. These are all internal rhymes. But walk, talk, gawk, all these are green colored or end rhymes. So one simple explanation, you can go through that, you will understand. And masculine rhyme and feminine rhyme, very important. This is when the last syllable, this is called a single cell rhyme also, rhyme in the which stresses on the final syllable. If there are two syllables, if the last syllable is stressed, that is called masculine rhyme. If the last syllable is unstressed, that becomes feminine rhyme. Simple thing, simple difference. For example, brother, mother. Here, brother Mother, we don't say brother, brother. The R, generally the ER is unstressed, unpronounced. Brother, mother, that's it. So the last one is unstressed, the last ER is. So that's why this is feminine rhyme. If we stress the last lines, last syllables, that is called masculine. Fear, tear, hill, still. So that's simple difference. And here I have given a small explanation for that. See, dream, seem are masculine rhymes because the M is pronounced. But whereas number, slumber, the last ending is unstressed. That's why this is called feminine rhyme. Simple thing. Don't get confused and it's not a rocket science, it's not a big term to remember. Very simple one. Masculine rhyme and feminine rhyme. If the ending is stressed, that is masculine. If the ending is not stressed, that is feminine rhyme. This is very important. We'll have types of works in the next one. And we have perfect rhyme, imperfect rhyme. What is perfect rhyme? If the vowels, the stressed vowels in the both words are identical. Sip, tip, identical almost. This is perfect rhyme. Sip and tip are perfect rhymes. But leave, believe. So the vowels are not similar here. That's why this is not a perfect rhyme, imperfect rhyme, but it is often used by the poets. And sometimes we use, the poets use some rhyming in the stanzas. Those are called eye rhymes or visual rhymes. Just they are seen as rhyming, but they are not rhyming words actually. See, how do we pronounce these two words? FIV, GIV. For visualization, it is looking like a rhyming word, but the pronunciation is different. 5, give. Lot of difference. Spellings, the vowels are same. Rough, but that is not buff. So the rhyming is not suitable here. So in this way, I rhyme is just used for I rhyme. That is only for some visual impression on the poem. For example, Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, the trumpet of prophecy. Oh wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Here we can see the famous dialogue, famous line, very, very important line of the Shelley's quote, that is Shelley's poem. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? But here behind is not not similar with the wind. Wind is different, hand, behind is different. But this is looking like a rhyme. So this rhyme is called as a I rhyme. I rhyme. So please try to understand what is rhyme. So this is not a big one. And I will just stop with this meter point and I will just stop the class and I will go for discussion. Meter. Meter is nothing but a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. As I have told you, it's like a music. Up and downs are common in English literature, English language. So when we utter a sentence, we do not take stress on all the syllables. Some syllables are stressed, some syllables are not stressed. They come at equal timings, equal timings. So that is called, English is a stress timed language. Please make a note of this. English is a stress timed language. So this stressed and unstressed pattern is called feet. Feet. Feet means it may have 2 syllables, it may have 3 syllables, but one group of this stressed and not stressed, unstressed syllables is called feet. In examination, we get a simple question. It's very confusing. A group of stressed and unstressed syllables is called feet, meter, rhyme, something, something. We just confused. A group of this stressed and unstressed is called feet. So the rhyme, the length of the line is depend on the feet. How many syllables are used? That's it. So the study of these meters is called as prosody. We will have a separate topic on this prosody. And remember, French language is not is a syllabic language, but whereas old German language is accentual. Accentual means stressed, but English is syllabic and accentual. It is both syllabic and accentual. So both the number of stress is important, both the number of syllables in the line is also important. So if you don't have, if you have any doubt in this point, just ask me and I will explain if tomorrow, if possible. Just try to read it. If you have any doubt in this one, just please ask me through WhatsApp also. I will answer your question. Here, four kinds of feet are there in English language. This is very important, and with this I stop the class. And even in the previous class I discussed this. Iamb is da dum. Trachea, dum da. Anapest, da da dum. Ductile, dum da da. So you have to memorize this phrase. You have to memorize this line. So I simply give you a quote for you. ITAD. ITAD means in Tribal Welfare Department we have ITDS, Integrated Tribal Development Authority. But here ITAD means a slightly modified version of that, ITAD. Iamba and trachea are similar. Anapestra and dactyl are similar. Iamba and trachea have 2 syllables. Anapestra and dactyl have 3 syllables. And in iamb, the first is unstressed. That's why da. You just see da. But dum, stressed, unstressed, da dum. Trachea is reverse to the iamb. Similarly, anapest is quite opposite to the dactyl. And there is an important point you have to remember is dactyl is nothing but finger. The meaning of the word dactyl is finger. This is one. So you just look at the figure. First one is a long one. The gap, the finger, it can be, there are 3 parts in a finger now. You can see that. The first one is obviously longer. That is why dumb, stressed. We take more time to stress this syllable, first syllable. And later 2 syllables, we don't take much time to stress. For example, bicycle, bicycle. We take much time for pronouncing bicycle, shortcut, bicycle. So for that, please go through these meters. I will give you only one word, ITAD. ITAD. Iamb, trachea, anapest, dactyl. In examination, you will surely get a question on this. ITAD. Iamb, trachea, anapest, dactyl. How to remember? Dadam, dum da. Dadadam, dum da. That's it. And remember 4 words, 4 examples for these 4 types. One is about. In about, A is unstressed, bout is stressed. This is weak prefix. We don't stress this. About. I is unstressed actually. About. By is stressed here. But this is reverse. About fire. This E is unstressed at the end. So about fire on the road. On and the are not stressed here, unstressed, but road or is stressed here. So that is da and dum. And again bicycle. So by is stressed and cycle is not stressed. So this is about the code word to remember this 4 in an order. Try to memorize this. And we have 2 more meters, rising meter and falling meter, that we will discuss. So strong set at the ending is rising. If the last syllable is stressed, that is rising meter. If the last syllable is not stressed, that is falling meter. Simple thing. Rising meter, falling meters. Simple thing. So this is for today's class. And we have two more meters, that is Spondy and Fyric. Spondy and Fyric are very simple. We get a question on these six types, but we don't use this Spondy and Fyric in generally in English poetry. These are exceptional because Spondy is nothing but two syllables are stressed at same time. Dum dum. Fyric is two syllables are unstressed. Da da. Okay, so this is today's class, and after this class I will share a small questionnaire for you. Actually there is something left to talk about, but I will just stop sharing the screen and I will just stop the class. If you have any doubts, please raise a hand. Please ask me and we'll have some discussion. And after this class I will share a Google after okay, maybe I will share a class, share the quiz question tomorrow, because there is something to talk about, so something is left in the class to discuss. So I will just go to the question answer session now. Ravinder sir, yeah, thank you for your patience. You're all the way. Yeah, thank you dear participants, thank you for your patience. It's already 9 o'clock, almost 1.5 hour completed. If you have any doubts, I will take for 10 minutes and then we will wind up. Sir Ravinder sir, please take the session.
Few members raised their hands, sir.
Yeah.
So once check those names.
Shiva sir and Shailu, please
Unmute yourself.
Sir,
And,
sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Carry on.
Sir, Ulysses was written by James Joy, and other Ulysses, Alpha Lord Tennyson also wrote Ulysses, no, sir? I'm a little bit confused with.
One is poem,
yes.
One is poem, the other one is novel, sir.
Novel, yes, exactly.
Okay.
One is poem, the other one is novel.
Okay, Ulysses, the Alpha Lord Tennyson, is a poem.
Poem, sir. Tennyson is the poet, Victorian poet.
Sir.
And Ulysses is a modernist fiction writer.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
That is the kind of good
Okay,
question,
sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Next, any
doubts? Please, any doubts? Please ask me. If you are asking the doubts, then only we can take it as a positive sign for the class.
We will work more to give you more information.
Yeah, this is the basic information I have gone through the class. Of course, many of you might have known this, but I'm sure this is in a different manner today I presented. Please.
Actually, today's session gives you 10% of the literature, almost 10% of the important literature is covered in today's session. So, very good session. Thank you very much, Keshava sir, for your patience and